Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about the baby boomers. And the reason we're talking about the baby boomers is because there's this theory out there that the baby boomers are going to start dying in large numbers magically in the next couple years, and all those houses are going to flood the market. Because here's the thing, Juana. Interest rates were going to cause a housing crash, and that hasn't happened, right? Home prices are actually up, annualized rate of 11% in last month. They went up. That was the Zillow video that we did yesterday. Okay. The next one was the foreclosures. Oh my gosh, there's millions of them. There's like none. They're not happening. There's no shadow inventory. There's no foreclosures. Foreclosure numbers are the lowest they've been in 40 years. Okay. The next was, it's the inventory was going to just skyrocket and then the bubble was going to pop. And that didn't happen, right? So now the latest one is the boomers are going to die. And all these boomer homes are going to be on the market, and there's not going to be enough people to buy them.
So if the pandemic didn't knock off the boomers, I don't think that the present condition will knock them off either. And remember, the boomers are in better health. They are living longer. They are of a better economic situation, so they're able to care for themselves and pay for care. So they are able to stay in their homes. So what used to happen is people used to go ahead and sell their homes and then move into some sort of assisted living facility or nursing home or something like that. But boomers have more wealth, they're healthier, and they are able to pay for care in their home, which means they are able to stay in their home longer. So the idea that they're going to either die, that's not going to happen, or they're going to be forced to sell and move into some sort of a care facility, that's not going to happen either.
Okay, so we'll do the first quote in the article. But after a decade in which the avocado toast generation, which is a dig, sat atop the housing market heap, baby boomers have suddenly and unexpectedly seized the upper hand. Between July 2021 and June 2022, boomers were the largest share of home buyers for the first time since 2012, according to new data from from NAR. Boomers purchased 39% of all homes that sold during that span, up from 29% the year before. Millennials, on the other hand, saw their share of the market shrink to just 28%, down from 43% the year prior. What are some things maybe? Okay, so let's define boomer and why they're not just going to die tomorrow. The youngest boomers are older than me. I was born right after the baby boom ended. I'm a Gen Xer. Pretty much everyone older than me is pretty much a boomer. So the boomers are basically 58 to 76. Okay, that's it. People older than 76 were part of the silent generation. They were the people born before 1945, before the war ended. And those people are definitely passing away. There are not as many of them as boomers. Okay. But what has happened? You mentioned one thing, that they're staying in their homes.
They're absolutely staying in their homes.
Why are they buying? We've experienced this. We have a large number of people who have come to us to buy investment properties who just happen to be boomers. They're in their 60s. Why is it? What's appealing to them about, and why are they using their cash, which these people are remember, we did a video on this, the wealthiest demographic in the world. They're like 1/7 of all the wealth in the world is held by the baby boomers in the US. It's literally the smallest sliver of people in the world that have the most wealth in the world. Why are they buying residential real estate with their cash?
So they're buying it for a number of reasons. First of all, they're buying it because that's an investment that they understand. It's an investment that they've had a good experience with, because remember, these are the people who most of them had the opportunity to purchase a home before they turned 30. So they have decades long of experience with real estate. Okay. So they trust real estate, right? So they're buying it for themselves. They're also buying it for their children and grandchildren, because they are, like you said, a very wealthy generation, and they have decided that they're going to spend some of that wealth while they are alive. And rather than having these people inherit wealth after they're gone, they're going to help them now, and they're helping them by either helping them with the purchase or outright purchasing properties for them.
Okay, so here's another quote from the article. And of course, this is cash is king, but I want to read the highlighted part there. In the years that followed, builders didn't produce enough homes to meet the looming wave of demand from younger buyers. Between 2010 and 2019, home builders started roughly 21,000 single-family homes per 1 million people each year, barely half as much as they were building in each of the 3 decades prior. When you add those numbers up, we are 6.5 million single-family homes short in the U.S.
Right. So what that means is that we have that many households that are being formed that simply do not have the opportunity to purchase a property regardless of their economic means, because there just isn't the inventory.
Let's do this next quote, okay? And then we'll go on. Cash purchases have been on the upswing since the beginning of 2021. This past October, so this is past October means October 2022, roughly a third of home buyers paid with cash, with all cash, the highest share since 2014. We literally said this would happen last summer, that if prices fell enough, people would just come in and buy cash, that they were not sensitive to interest rates.
Right. So remember, again, sorry to make fun of the Crash Bros, but so when we started out with about 40% of real estate being debt-free, and then we've got all this real estate that was recently purchased, and it was purchased all cash. So it just kind of contributes to that whole totality of homes that are debt-free. And then, of course, like I said before, these people are also purchasing with a really high down payment, which means that they have a great deal of equity coming into the purchase. So this is, something else that we've talked about, that you have another about somewhere close to about another 30-40% that have really high equity. So that's a lot of support for the real estate market. And what I mean by support is people who have so much equity that that the likelihood of them ever being in a position where they owe more than what the property is worth is non-existent.
We're not going to talk about people taking their money out of regional banks to buy real estate. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about people taking their money out of the stock market and putting them in real estate. We're not going to talk about people who maybe think Social Security is not going to pay them any money, so they have decided to make their own retirement and take their cash and put it in real estate to give themselves money. What we're going to talk about is this phenomenon where these people have, like you said, they bought these homes, they're collecting rents for income. They have gone to a trust attorney. They have said, I want these in a trust. And so when I die, my kids can just get the money from I don't want the home sold, but I want the kids just to collect the rent and have the rent as their income. Now, you work with probate attorneys. Some of the times when somebody passes away, the heirs go, we were left the house, we want to sell the house. But actually, most of the time, they don't actually sell the house, do they?
No.
Why aren't they doing this? Because the average person out there is like, oh, relative just died, we're selling the house and we're going to put all the cash in the bank. But that's actually dumb. In most cases, that's dumb. Why is that dumb, and what are they doing? So
it's interesting. So what people do is they make some sort of arrangement. So even people with reverse mortgages, they don't actually have to sell the house. They can go ahead and refinance it and pay off the loan and keep the property, or just pay off the loan without refinancing. So it's really interesting. So people are looking at this piece of real estate, and they understand that real estate is about wealth building, and they understand it's about residual income, so income that you get every month. And with that understanding comes the realization that selling the property doesn't always make sense. They've got a good basis for the property. So usually when somebody passes away, people have the wherewithal to either get an appraisal or a broker price opinion or whatever valuation that they choose on the property, so that they can establish their basis, and then they're good to go. They'll keep the property, they'll rent it out, maybe they'll move a relative in there, whatever. But a lot of people choose to hang on to the property.
Here's another quote from the article. Even if nationwide home prices continue to slide, which is funny because they're not sliding, they're actually going up as of right now, they'll likely remain dramatically higher than they were before the pandemic, which means no housing crash. Because you cannot have a housing crash in which prices are dramatically higher than they were normally, right? That's the opposite. Okay. And baby boomers have already shown a desire to stay out of nursing homes longer than their predecessors, meaning they'll probably play an active role in the housing market for years to come. In a housing market of haves and have-nots, equity-rich homeowners have the edge over hopeful first-time buyers. That's not changing anytime soon. I think this trend is going to continue. I think you're going to see more and more people that have a bunch of cash. They're going to cash out that Tesla stock. They're going to go buy some rental houses. The home builders are not going to just cut their own throats and try to build like 4 million houses a year. It's not that, which is what they have to do. They have to build like 4 million houses a year for 4 or 5 years to catch back up. They're not going to do that, right? They don't have the ability to do it. First of all, they're not going to. No. They can't physically do it. So
they don't have the material. They don't have the labor. They don't have the land.
Right. So this theory that and remember, we're talking these 58-year-olds, these 60-year-olds who are the ones buying all the properties, they're not dying in the next 2 or 3 years. And, they will, some of these will live 40 more years. And they probably, if their heirs are smart, will just be like, hey, because I had a relative it was my uncle and his dad passed away. It was my aunt's husband, but his dad had passed away. His dad owned an apartment building in San Diego he was a dentist and he owned it with other dentists. They bought this apartment building in like the 60s or 70s. And this thing produced income. And when he passed away, he left it to his son, but he left his ownership to the son. So the son couldn't really sell the shares, but he all of a sudden started getting checks from okay, you're now our partner in this business, and here's your share of the, whatever. So, that just sort of got passed on. And that's, I think what's happening is, people are trying to build generational wealth and, the stock market's great and all, but a house pays dividends. And if you're buying an annuity, because say you buy an annuity for $400,000 and it pays you $2,000 a month for the rest of your life, right? And then you die and the annuity goes away. And you're like, hey, wait a minute though. I could buy a house for $400,000, get $2,000 a month rent out of it, easy, right? And then I still have the value of the house. So when I die, I have a house probably worth more than 400. Heirs can inherit that. Plus I'll be able to raise a rent every month. Like if you look at some of these investment vehicles that exist right now, they absolutely are horrible compared to real estate. Like they're really terrible investments. And I know a lot of people, it's funny because remember 5 years ago when the stock market was going crazy, all of these knuckleheads who do they give terrible advice. They're like Jim Cramer on, was it Squawk Box? But then they give this really terrible advice on their blogs. And they were saying, you should sell your house and put it all in the real estate market because your house is only getting 3%. The real estate's going to give you, or stock market's going to give you 12%. And it's like, I'm thinking that's the stupidest thing you could do. Like, don't sell your house. I'm sure there were people out there that did this. And now their stocks are way down and they can't go buy a house now. Because first of all, their money's all gone because they dumped it in the stock market. And then the second thing is housing prices have gone up. And if they just stuck with their houses, they would have been fine.
Right. So we are not giving anybody financial advice. So please do not misconstrue Todd's
rant
no. as financial advice. And no, we do not raise rents every month. We do raise rent
not
annually.
Every month.
Yes.
Not every month.
No, so we do raise
as much as possible
annually.
Raise them annually.
Yes, and Todd does make a valid point regarding annuities. Depending on what your annuity is, that might be a good vehicle for you. For a lot of people, purchasing a house makes a lot more sense because, especially if you're dealing with like $400,000, you could actually purchase 2 properties, and 2 properties would give you $4,000 in income. And even if you have to service debt on each of those properties, you probably would still end up ahead. But that's between you and your accountant and financial advisor to sort that out. So that there are other ways to generate income that actually also build equity and leave more for your heirs if that is what interests you. I'm going to do a little rant too.
Oh, rant. I want to hear it.
Here we go.
All right. I'm gonna film this and we're gonna put it on YouTube.
There you go. So it's more like a tangent. So since we're talking about probate and we're talking about heirs and all that, one of the things that, one of the attorneys that I work with, what he specializes in is doing these trusts. And the cool thing about the trusts is that they make baby trusts. And what I mean by that is, so say for example that we have a trust and then we both die, the baby trusts our children would inherit from us, and then whatever they inherit would be in their own little trusts. And what the cool thing about that is that if they are married, then that still remains their sole property. So not that we expect partners to not stay together, but let's face it, we do live in a world where most partnerships dissolve at some point.
One is not giving legal advice.
No.
Continue.
Yes. And so that remains that child's or that adult child's separate property, even if that couple splits up. So it's kind of cool. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why, kind of circling back, that's one of the reasons why these adults are choosing to not liquidate the properties, is because they understand that it's kind of safe in that little baby trust, and they're able to get the income from it and use it with their partner. But should their partner and that person part ways, then they get to keep that income producing vehicle, which in this case is a house. So lots of good reasons to consider real estate. We're not advocating that you purchase real estate. We're not advocating any of that. We're just giving you our opinion as to why we like real estate, and also some options to consider.
And to go back to the beginning, this was just about the boomers and why the boomers are ruining it for the millennials. They're being super greedy. They're buying up the houses for themselves, denying.
And they're choosing to not die and let the rest of us have their houses.
Yeah, the boomers' kids are basically, some of the older boomers' kids are millennials, by the way.
Okay.
And some of the boomers' kids are the Gen Z. No, not us, Gen Z.
Well, I'm a child of a boomer.
You're like right on the edge. Like your parents are the oldest boomers possible, and like you're toward the much younger end of Gen X. That's an anomaly because your mom was a teenager. So but most people are, they basically, you skip a generation. So they're denying their own kids literally to be able to buy a house.
Right. So go ahead and tell those boomers to kick the bucket so we can have their houses. Interesting, amusing. Did we help you enjoy your coffee this morning? Whatever it is, we welcome your comments. Please leave us comments. We enjoy reading them and we enjoy engaging with you. Please like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can be advised of the next rant. And we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.